invented it, discovered that if you play a certain frequency to the plants for about 10 minutes, they open the stomata, and the frequency is in the range of the warblers.
Mm-hmm.
His thesis is that when the warblers come back in the spring, they help break dormancy in the plants with the sound that they're emitting. So he recreated the sound and plays that to the plants for about 10 minutes, and the stomata, which is Greek for little mouth, the stomata, the little openings on the bottom side of leaves, open up and take in massive amounts of nutrients.
And that was Dan who?
Dan Carlson, C-A-R-L-S-O-N. Sonic Bloom. Great name. He also developed what he called sonic doom, where he'd use a very, very tiny amount of a weed killer, play the sound, and then spray the weeds, and a tiny amount of weed killer would kill the weeds very efficiently. So you didn't have to do massive amounts of toxins on the plants. Sonic doom. I flew 3 times to Minneapolis, St. Paul that year, and saw Dan's first experimental garden in the spring, summer, and fall. And it was just amazing. He had I think it was 563 tomatoes on one bush, and the bush was about so high and about so big, loaded. It was, and they're best tomatoes I'd ever eaten in my life, before or after.
It was 83. What's he doing now in 2010?
Well, the interesting thing is he took the seeds from those tomatoes, dried them, saved them, and then he planted them. And the last I heard, he was up over 2,000 tomatoes on one bush. And there was a guy in Indonesia who was running for office to be president of the country, who was running on a food self-sufficiency program, and his plan was to use sonic bloom all over Indonesia. So anyway, it was. So what we're doing is we want to combine the sonic bloom sound with this other product that Sarva has to see what happens, because I think it's going to be off the charts. We also want to use something called terra preta, which is the biochar. You've probably heard of biochar.
I don't know.
It's low temperature charcoal that's produced by incomplete combustion. Traditionally in the Amazon, much of the Amazon was created by humans in building up the soil with this method, where they would dig a pit in the jungle, like say they wanted to have more of certain yummy things that they had to forage for in the jungles. So they make a clearing, dig a pit, put the burnables into the pit, cover it with green and wet stuff, leaves, things like that, and burn, and it would leave a black charry mess in the hole. Then they take that and mix it at about a 1-to-10 ratio, 1 part carbon, the low temperature charcoal, to 10 parts of soil, regular soil. And when Columbus came, they lost the technology because so many people died off. And then in 1983, an archaeologist was flying over the Bolivian rainforest, and looking down, to his great surprise, he saw these circles, some of them very big, like 300 meters across, it turned out, some of the big ones. That's like 1/3 of a kilometer. And looking down, he saw these big circles, and they were connected by straight lines that you could see, and the circles were green, very green, and around them the savanna sort of a yellow-green. So he got super curious and went down to investigate, and everywhere these circles existed, the soil was very rich in humic matter and carbon. And that's what he figured out, was that they had, and they found pottery shards, and fish bones, and all kinds of artifacts of civilization mixed into the soil. And he realized that they had literally built the healthiest part of the rainforest. So I worked with a guy for 2.5 years who had invented, I worked as a consultant with him. He had invented a machine to hey Sarva, I was just talking about the product that we're going to test with the sonic bloom sound.
Oh, yeah.
What's the name? Tell them the name of that, because I couldn't remember.
BioWash.
BioWash.
BioWash?
1 word, 2 words?
I don't know. Whichever you want.
And Sarva and Jiva are joining the community, and they're from Australia, originally from Hungary.
The actual particle size is 8 angstrom. And it's made purely from vegetables like sugarcane and coconut, and you dilute it to a huge amount of, I think, 400 or 500 times, and you just spray it on, foliage or whatever type of vegetable or fruit tree, and it's increasing the plant's ability to absorb nutrient through the root system. That's one of the things. That's one of the things it does. And they have trees which have been not flowering or producing for sometimes up to 10 years, and they're spraying it a few times, and then they produce huge volume.
Yeah, if you look it up on the internet, it's amazing.
They've got pictures and everything. It's just truly incredible.
So we want to combine that with the sonic bloom sound and the terra preta, the charcoal, because the charcoal improves the root system. Sonic bloom, the sound, the plants become super foliar feeders, and we think that we're going to have the most amazing garden on the planet, or at least one of them.
It also increases the sugar content, and certain plants, once the sugar content is increased, they become naturally immune for certain
pests,
insects.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't. Some insects, they don't like the sugar.
Yeah.
If it's too sweet, they go away.
Right.
So the sweeter it is, the least prone for attack.